The Master Chief has been in active service with the UNSC since he was 14 years old. Obviously ignoring the legal ramifications of having a person that young in active service with the military. We are talking about an Only Black project after all, so, we'll kind of sweep that under the rug. In either case, Master Chief is currently 49 years of age in the current events surrounding Zeta Halo and Halo Infinite, which means he has been in active duty for 35 years, and has a total military career spanning 43, which gives him incredible battlefield experience, and his absolutely exemplary service record is a testament to just how many years he has spent in the field and how accomplished he is as a soldier. The Master Chief has most definitely dedicated his entire career to military service. His career is in the military. His career. It's his job. How much has the Master Chief been paid during this time? I mean, he must have been paid. I mean, it's probably a token gesture given that he spent most of his life in military service and is viewed upon, just as most of the other Spartans are, as military hardware. But at least to keep the finance books balanced, you would need to justify the presence of those soldiers. They would need to have been paid. But the Chief has only ever fought. I don't believe there's very many examples, if any at all, of Chief being on leave in any great degree to actually be able to spend some money. How wealthy is the Master Chief? Hey everybody, welcome back to Installation 00, and let's just clarify at the get-go, this is really a kind of a token gesture. The Master Chief is basically kept and supported by the Navy because that's all he knows and all he has ever done. He and the other Spartans are almost literally, from a legal standpoint, children of the Navy. They have no next of kin. They are effectively, through obviously manipulation and black projects and contraventions of the Mortal Dictator, the property of the UNSC. But as the Spartan program has become more public, that presents some issues. Because by definition, even in the Halo universe, the Navy can't be seen to physically own another human being. That is tantamount to a lifetime of servitude or slavery. And whilst we know that the Office of Naval Intelligence seem to have no qualms whatsoever about breaking laws, this one does present some issues with the newer public-facing Spartan program. I mean, hypothetically speaking, at any point really, the Master Chief could go to Naval Command and say, "That's it, I've done my service, I want to retire and take my back pay." And really, there's not a lot they could do to stop him, which was ultimately the motivation behind this video. If he did make that choice, how much money would the Navy have to pay him to completely and utterly settle up how long he's been serving? Just how wealthy would the Master Chief be? Well, in order to find that out, we need to really pace out his rank during different times of his career, how long he occupied those ranks, and then calculate the salary and benefits and hazard pay that would go along with those. Now again, we can't really make a direct in-universe comparison because we don't really know how the credits or the currency of the Halo universe kind of tally up to real-world currency. Yes, we can make some conservative estimates, and I've made videos on this subject before, but it's still a very loose conservative estimate. So, for all intents and purposes, the UNSC Navy is based very closely on the US Navy. As, strictly speaking, the UNSC came into existence when the United Nations of planet Earth came together and created a singular military and government. And the US contributed significantly to that navy, meaning many of its traditions, its structures, and the way in which it operates were inherited by the US Navy. So, first things first, we need to establish John 117's rank across the years, and this isn't as clear-cut as you'd expect. He was born in March of 2511 and was ultimately kidnapped and conscripted into the UNSC as a recruit in 2517. However, they are never really referred to formally as conscripts. In fact, they are referred to as enlisted men. This is obviously a bending of the truth to cover the true nature of the Spartan 2 program. Again, one of the first things that John 117 asked of Chief Mendez was the highest rank that he could attain as an enlisted man, which ultimately gave him the goal of achieving the rank of Master Chief Petty Officer. So going back to his conscription, or rather his enlistment into the UNSC in 2517, he would have been enlisted and became a seaman recruit. He occupied that rank for nearly 8 years, when in September of 2525 he was promoted to Petty Officer 3rd Class. A little under 2 months later, all of the Spartans graduated their training, and were thus all promoted to the rank of Petty Officer 2nd Class. And just 2 months later, they were registered as active duty at the age of 14, and at this point John had achieved the rank of Petty Officer 1st Class. And a mere 5 months later, in April of 2526, he achieved the rank of Master Chief Petty Officer, a 3-rank jump in a field promotion by Colonel Marmon Crowther, and he continues to hold this rank for 26 years. I say 26 years because at the end of Halo 3, when we see the monument with the numbers 117 scratched into its surface, there is an insignia stuck to the monument directly under John's number, and the insignia is that of the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, which, while it is still classed as an E9 rank, the same as just a Master Chief Petty Officer, it does pay significantly more. And whilst it was most likely a posthumous promotion in memory of John 117, I find it extremely unlikely that when John was revived and then recovered by the UNSC Infinity on Requiem, that they would have effectively demoted him. Which means, by definition, since he was recovered on Requiem until the present day in the Halo universe, which is a period of time of around 8 years, he has been serving as a Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy. So there we have his entire career rank and promotions listed out. Now we have to reference in the salaries, benefits and hazard pays of each of these ranks in order to ascertain just how much money Chief would hypothetically have in the bank that he could, arguably, ask to withdraw as back pay if he chose to step out of active service today. And before we get onto that, it's worth noting the way in which the Navy pay. Your pay grade is identified by the E number. So for example, Master Chief is grade E9, while Senior Chief is E8. All of the pay grades are paid out with a basic pay or a basic salary to start with, but then in keeping with Navy traditions of providing you with board and meal provisions, your salary is bolstered with a BAH allowance, which is a basic allowance for housing, assuming the individual has no dependents, which I think we can say with relative certainty the Master Chief doesn't, and a BAS allowance, which is meant to offset the costs for the individual's meals. And then finally, on top of that, if you're actually serving in an active war zone, you are paid hazard pay on top of that. And then in keeping with years of service, as the years increase, you also get a pay rise. But these only happen after a certain amount of years of service. So going in order, first things first. When John was first recruited, he achieved the rank of Recruit Seaman, a role he occupied for 8 years. The basic pay for an E1 Seaman recruit is $22,000 per year, with a BAH allowance of $15,317 per year and a BAS allowance of $4,883 per year, giving a total of $42,201 per year. He occupied this role for 8 years, giving him a total earned salary during this time of $337,608. John was then promoted to E4, the rank of Petty Officer 3rd Class. However, he only occupied this rank for around 2 months, so we must take the basic pay and allowances and then divide the total to find out how much he earned in those 2 months, while simultaneously taking into consideration that he's already served 8 years with the Navy, which for those 2 months means John earned $8,153.68. He and the other Spartans then graduated recruit training and achieved the rank of E5, Petty Officer 2nd Class, a rank that John only held for a single month. So just as we did with the previous rank, we have to take the basic and the benefits and divide them to find out how much he earned in the single month, which is $4,449.26. Then John was promoted to pay grade E6, Petty Officer 1st Class, a rank he occupied for 5 months. Same story again, take the salary and benefits and divide them down, which gives us $15,678. And then John achieved the rank of Master Chief Petty Officer, and this is where things get quite interesting, but also a little bit confusing, because at this point John had served 8 years of service, yet the basic salary of a Master Chief Petty Officer doesn't actually come into effect until 10 years of service, likely due to the fact that, generally speaking, you don't become a Master Chief before your 10 years of service. Which means as far as the records that I could find are concerned, John, for those first 2 years of being a Master Chief, would either continue to have his E6 salary, or he would just have the BAH and BAS allowances for the Master Chief. Now, because I'm not entirely sure what would happen in this circumstance, I'm going to go with the smaller of the two figures, which in this case would be if he just got the benefits for Master Chief Petty Officer and not the salary, in which case for the first 2 years he'd be paid $27,144 per year. However, after this, once he achieves the 10 years of service, his salary would kick in, and then for every 2 years thereafter, his salary would increase with the years of service. So at 10 years, he'd be earning $69,469. At 12 years, it's $71,046. 14, $73,030. 16 would be $75,359. Look, rather than listing all of these out verbally, here they are on screen, and it basically culminates that at the 34 years of service mark, he's earning $129,862 a year. The Human Covenant War came to a close, and John was posthumously given the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy promotion. However, for the next 4 years, was believed to be dead. But of course, when it was found that he wasn't dead, you can't very well demote him for being alive, and since he's been alive all of that time, he was effectively in a kind of state similar to being behind enemy lines with no backup for a prolonged period of time, thus could still be considered as being actively serving. Now at 36 years, a Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy is paid $129,862 per year, including benefits. At 38 years, that jumps to $135,010 per year and stays that way for the rest of their service career. And finally, we have hazard pay. Well, after graduating and actually going into active service, John spent around 6 months accruing hazard pay at roughly the rank of Petty Officer 1st Class, being $215 a month, and then spent more or less consistently the next 34 years accruing hazard pay for the rank of Master Chief Petty Officer and Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy. Both are paid at $240 a month. And now we have all of these figures. It's just time for a little long form maths. So 625, carry the 3. Yeah, if Chief decided to step out of active service right now and request his back pay, the UNSC would have to pay him $4,017,732 or £3,174,316.78. Now, yes, arguably speaking, there may have been times in there where he wasn't actually serving on a frontline combat mission, which means the hazard pay wouldn't necessarily apply. And yeah, we could make argument that over the duration of his career, he's kind of spent his BAH and BAS benefits for board and food. But really, when we're talking gross pay, the Master Chief, John 117, is a millionaire. In truth, even if you did deduct all of the benefits, he's still loaded. He's still a millionaire. Chief got dollar. and until next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider smashing the like button and leave a comment below on what you'd like me to cover next. Big shout out to my patrons, Spartan10148, the Metarch of my installation, Falcon, Prophet Bear, Mikhail, Sophia, and Ashley, my dutiful monitors, Darian, Scarab, Spartan0137, Anthony, Ghost, Aaron, Chris, Jacob, Sean, Element Zero, Somatic, Jordan J3, Dan, Mr. Keys, Directal, Gunslinger, Jacob, Bandmill, Echo, Evermore, Officer Cat, and Personal Devil, my diligent sub-monitors, my fleet of Strato Sentinels, and my loyal enforcers. And all the other patrons who have jumped aboard to support the channel. It means more to me than I can accurately put into words. Another shout out to my Tier 0 Transcendent YouTube members, Spartan137, Jacob, Schmitty, Talia, Fenrir and Born Stellar, and all the other YouTube members keeping my installation running on that glorious vacuum energy. Shout out to John for I don't fucking know. And if you want more of this kind of content, hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon so you don't miss any future videos, and consider jumping aboard yourself as a patron or YouTube member to keep the channel alive and kicking. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy everyone, and find peace in the domain.